Hello there, Algebra students. This is Mr. Kashi speaking. As we go through this video, we're going to go through 3 examples, and these are going to be a little bit more the challenging ones from this section. Some that are just factoring out a common factor, others that we're going to be factor by grouping. And these are just skills that we're going to need to be using when we start factoring quadratic expressions, and then obviously using that when we get into equations as well. So hopefully you can see the factors of 15 over here that are going to help us with this problem. So we have 3 terms here, and hopefully you can see that there is a c squared in all of those terms. But the amount of v's, in the first term there's only 1 v, in the second term there's 2 v's, in the third term there's 3 v's. So I'm going to keep the c squareds together, but I'm going to separate the v's, and then obviously separate the numbers here. So here I'm going to write it out as an expanded form, 5 times c squared times v, minus, I'm going to go 3 times 5, I'm going to split that up because of my factors over here, times c squared times v, plus 5 times c squared times v times v times v. So now that I have them all expanded, now I can circle what's in common. So they have a common factor of 5, so I could write that out front here. They have a common factor of c squared, so I could write that out front as well. And they have 1 v in common, so I can write that as well. And then inside the parentheses I'm going to write what is left. So hopefully you can see there's nothing left from the first term, but we still have to leave a 1. So that's like dividing 5c squared v divided by 5c squared v. So same thing, or something divided by itself is always 1. So we're going to leave a 1 behind there. And then in the second term we have 3v, and in the third term we have v squared. Okay, and then so we just factored out 5 c squared v from all 3 terms. And so this would be our final answer for that problem. The next example that we're going to go through, hopefully, so you have 3 terms here, and you can take a look, and I want you to compare the variables here. So just the variables. So the numbers, we have common factors that are over here that we're going to use. But the variables, in the first term and the last term there's an x, but there's no x in the middle term. In the first 2 terms there's a y, but there's no y in the last term. And in the second and third term there's a w, but there's no w in the first term. So really we have no common variables that go through all 3 terms. So there's nothing that there's no common variables that we can factor out. But we do have common factors of the numbers. So we have a common factor of 3 with 6, 21, and 24. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to split up the numbers, and we'll just leave the variables alone for now. So here we have 2 times 3 times x squared times y. And then here we have 7 times 3 times y squared times w. And here we have 8 times 3 times x times w. And then we'll just circle what we have in common, and that's just our common factor of 3. We'll write that out front. Then inside the parentheses we write what's left. So we have 2x squared y in the first term. I'm going to bring this subtraction down. Then I have 7y squared w. Going to bring this addition down. It's going to be plus. And then we have 8xw. And this is, so all we could really do is just factor that, the common factor of 3. We couldn't do anything with the variable. So that is our final answer for this problem. We do have one more that I want to go through. This is a factor by grouping problem. And so factor by grouping, what we do is we split them up, just like that. and then we're going to expand out all of the terms. So 2x squared, that's 2 times x minus 5 times x. And then on the right hand side, hopefully you can see over here we have common factor of 3. So this is going to be 2 times 3 times x minus 5 times 3. Then we're going to go through, circle what's in common. So here on the left hand side, we have an x in common, so we're going to take that x, write it out front. Then inside the parentheses, we're going to write what's left. So we have 2x minus 5. And then on the right hand side, we have a 3 in common. So we're going to write that out front. Then we write what's left. We have 2x minus 5. And these need to be the same. That's important for this factor by grouping. So we have 2x minus 5 in both, so we know we're good. And then we just have to write our final answer. And so here in the first set of parentheses, we're going to have this x plus 3. And it's a plus 3 because this 3 right here is a positive. And then in the second parentheses, we just write what this one was. This we just write it once, though. It's not squared or anything like that. That's the common factor there, 2x minus 5. So we have x plus 3 times 2x minus 5. And this would be our final answer. And what we call that is, we would say that this is now in factored form. So, common question that we get is, why are we doing all this and that kind of stuff. This is really just a skill. We're not to the concepts yet of how this looks with a quadratic equation or parabolas or anything like that. So we're just getting some skills down on how this is going to help us solve quadratic equations in the future.